Hello friends. So today I want to show you guys a little trick that I use to make my pads sound more interesting. A lot of times I don't. I find myself using pads a little differently. Sometimes I'll use them straightforward, but I find that when I just use the pad as a general pad, I shortly use it in a sound journey or in a meditation track, um, and I take it out fairly quickly. It just kind of adds some emotional impact. However, I wanted to share with you guys a little trick that I've been using lately that I turn the pads into something else that I feel like I can enjoy a little more in the journey, and that is by using a envelope filter. So let's get started here on this tutorial. Now I've got my Mystika template open here, and that's what we're going to be working with today as an example. This template just recently released this for Ableton Live. And as you can see here, I've got my pads opened up. I've already got a pad selected. I've got most of a basic journey selected here that we're going to be working with. So let me hit play here so we can see where we're at with this. This is what it sounds like right now. Now let's zoom in on the pad here. Let's solo the pad. You can see this is what the pad sounds like right now. It's a great pad. This is one of my favorite pads in this template here. It's called Bowl Therapy. But what I want to do is I want to adapt this. I want to change it. I want to give it a little bit more presence, a little more movement. So what I'm going to do here, and let's start from scratch. Let me take this out. Don't look just yet. So this is what it's going to look like when you first, let me bring the volume of this down. When you first open up the template, if you're working with this template, but you can use this technique on just about anything here. So I'm going to show you the basics of how to do this, and you can use this if you're working in other templates or if you're just creating your track from scratch. So we've got the pad sound here. It's got a little movement to it here. It's a beautiful pad, like I said, one of my favorites in this pack. But what I want to do is I want to do something different with it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to open up my effects here on the side, go into audio effects, and I'm going to choose an auto filter. Now I'm going to put this before the effects rack that's already in here, because this is going to affect the pad, but I want to keep the FX after what happens to the pad when I do this. Okay, so we're going to be working with an envelope filter here. So I've already went ahead and chosen, what I like to do is I like to choose a percussion element. So I pulled some of these from some other sound packs that I have. Let's bring this in so you can hear what they actually sound like, what's actually going on. So all I did was pull over a percussive element that sounds like this. Let me solo this. Now you might notice that this is set for 120 BPMs when I'm playing at 60 BPMs. Now this doesn't really matter because we're not actually going to hear this percussive element when all is said and done. What we're doing is we're using this percussive element as a trigger to open the envelope of the pad. So the way we do that is we come back over here into the pads. We go into the filter here that I just placed, and we're going to open up this arrow button here, and that's going to allow us to sidechain this filter. So I'm going to go ahead and turn on sidechain here, and I'm going to select the input from that percussive element that we were just working with there. Okay, so you can see here in the lower corner that sound is coming in. And I'm going to go ahead and put this on pre-effects. There's no effects on the track at this point, but that's just a safe way of making sure that that element is coming through directly. Now what you can do is you can work with the gain here to bring that in. If the percussive element isn't at high volume and you want that to open up a little more, you can work with the gain here, and that's not going to affect any of the sound. That's just affecting the signal level when it comes into the channel. Now the magic happens here. What we're going to do is we're going to turn the filter all the way down. I'm going to solo this pad here so you can see what happens. So that's what the pad sounds like with the filter turned all the way up. I'm going to turn this filter all the way down. Now you're not going to hear anything because it's a high pass filter that is turned all the way down. Okay, so now what I'm going to do, now I've already got the side chain selected. I'm going to turn this envelope knob all the way up. Okay, now what that's going to do is it's going to take the signal from that percussive element, and every time that element opens and gives a loud signal, it's going to move the envelope, the filter, it's going to open that up. Now you're not hearing much here right now, but let's work with this a little bit so we can get the effect, the desired effect that we're looking for. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to turn the attack down a little bit. That's going to have it, when that signal comes in, it's going to open it up a little bit quicker. Now you can start to hear that start to come through. And I'm going to bring the release down a little bit as well. And that's going to make it a sharper open there. Now, here's another thing you can do. You can you can put the bass frequency of the filter. You can turn that up. So some of the pads coming through, and it works to open it up more with every beat of that percussive element. Now I can also, like I said, turn the gain up here. And so that's going to make that signal stronger. Okay. I'm going to turn the release back up a little bit here, give it a little bit longer release. I'm going to turn the effects rack off so you can just hear the pure signal of what's coming through. So every time that percussive element strikes, as you can see over here on the right side in the track of the percussive element, every time that comes up, that's opening up the filter of the filter here on the pad, right? And if we turn that up, it's going to open it up more every time that percussive element hits. Okay. Now, let's make that release a little longer. You can see what's happening there. If you turn it down, it's more abrupt, opens and closes very quickly. But because it's a pad and we want to work with it, we want to keep some of that element coming through, I'm going to turn that release back up. So it's a little bit slower release. Let's put it at 222. I like 222 as a number. Okay. And let's put the attack at 2.2 milliseconds. So it opens pretty quickly and it closes a little slower there. Okay. You can also turn the resonance frequency up. And so every time it sweeps, it's going to have that little bump there on the frequency. You can hear the difference there. Let's turn that way up so you can hear that coming through, right? So the big difference there. Let's keep that right about 22%. Turn the frequency back down a little bit here. And now when we turn the effects on with the darkness effect, the deep space reverb, making it a little bit wetter, you're going to hear what that sounds like once we turn that back on. Let's turn that back on. So that gives the pad a whole different experience. Now, what you want to do if you're doing this, you want to remember to take the percussive element out of the mix so that doesn't come through. It's just having an effect on the pad. Because if you add that to the mix, you're also hearing the percussive element, which you can do sometimes. But I want to work with different percussive elements. So let's try a different one here. You can see what difference this makes. I selected a couple of them here. So this one's a little quicker here. Let's double that so it gets slower like that first one was. But you can see every time that percussive element hits, it's opening the filter of the pad and letting some sound through, and then closing it when it's quiet. So we can play with that. We can try different percussive rhythms to get a different rhythm on the pad, on the filter. And then when we bring this back into the mix, right? So I'm going to unsolo this. You can hear what that's doing to the pattern. To me, it makes it sound a little more interesting. Let's go back to the original percussive element that we had selected here. Keeping it with that slower pace there. And let's see what that sounds like if we take that filter off to notice the difference. So it's just the original pad sound. Let's turn that back on so you can see the difference there. Let's add a little more effects to it. Let's add some fog. And let's slow the attack down a little bit, especially when we're working with a pad. If we make that attack a little too short, it does feel a little abrupt here. And so we want to keep it with a smooth little pad-like swell more. And so we're going to slow that attack down just a little bit. It's going to make it a little less sharp, a little less percussive. Add some endless to it here. Make it a little wetter and a little bigger. And you hear what's happening there. So that's something that I like to do, especially working with these kind of templates in Ableton Live, to make my pads sound a little more interesting. It's a trick you can use on any type of music. Sometimes I'd use it on my down-tempo tracks, on my Afro house tracks, and as well on a lot of my meditative tracks and sound journeys. So just a quick little tutorial there on how to use the auto filter, turn up the envelope, and sidechain it to a percussive element. And you can use this on your bass sounds. You can sidechain it to a kick drum. You can do all sorts of interesting things with this once you learn this technique. So that's it for today. Just wanted to share that quick trick. If you're interested in getting this Mystika template, the link is down below. It's available for download right now. It's got all these sounds, effects racks, and everything ready for you to play a meditative journey, a sound journey, create breathwork tracks, all that kind of stuff. So that's going to do it for today. I hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you did, don't forget to give me a like or a follow, and I'll see you guys on the next one. Thanks for checking in.